what if Dragon Dance was in Gen 1 OU? Now, hopefully, I can convince you all that Dragon Dance in Gen 1 would not be a welcome addition. It is kind of insane. Because think about it. Gen 1 is a tier where speed boosts can completely ignore your paralysis. There isn't things like Choice Scarf. Nothing like that. There's also not too many boost sweepers. And every single Sword Stance user is only a niche option that, you only see occasionally. And the only reason why you see Poopymons like Kingler or Sandslash is because of Sword Stance. Now we'll just add a move that can help ignore paralysis as well as boost your attack. Yeah, that is kind of insane. And like here we have Dragonite. And this guy already is more than happy using agility. But now we're going to boost his attack as well. It's terrifying. We also have Gyarados learning it. That's pretty scary. Charizard, Lapras, and I guess technically Onix would learn it. So like Onix with Dragon Dance, sure, like I guess we can give it. Yeah, I don't think we should bother with Onix. And I know Bind is technically more accurate than Fire Spin, but do you even use Bind? I don't think so. Like, let's just move on. Now, I think it makes most sense to talk about these in the order of worst to best, so here's Onix. Like, maybe with Dragon Dance, this guy might see something in PU. That's my guess. But we're going to start off with Charizard, who now has competition with Moltres. And I guess, technically, Dragon Dance would give you the edge. Charizard, if you ever do see it in OU, which is definitely not preferred, keep it in NU. But if you are seeing it, it's probably a Sword Stance / Earthquake Hyper Beam set. So like, just a standard Sword Stance set, but with a really bad Pokemon. Because Fire Flying is just it's just really not the best. Although a lot of these aren't as bad if you can boost your attack and your speed at the same time. One thing I will give Charizard credit for is that you're by far the fastest out of all of the Dragon Dance users. So you easily outspeed everything in the game with just one Dragon Dance. Outside of maybe Jolteon, but at that point I don't think it matters because you're weak to Jolteon. So with Fire Spin, it's also the least accurate out of the trapping moves that we'll be talking about. That's definitely not good. But still, like, it definitely gives you something you can do. And I believe you're the only one in Gen 1 who has access to Earthquake. So along with Hyper Beam, you just have another attacking move that, is physical and does a lot of damage. Although I suppose you could replace it for Fire Blast in case you're scared of Executor. You could also use Slash as well, if you just want consistent damage. So overall, do I think he would be actually used in OU? I think with Dragon Dance, he can finally start appearing in OU. Although, I still would say it would be a niche, more than all of these other Pokemon. I'm not really sure about Charizard and how good he would be. It still really feels like that it's just hard to get the Dragon Dance off. He feels like the least bulky out of all of the Pokemon here. But I could be wrong. If you think Charizard would see a big resurgence in OU, let me know. Now, I think the second best would be Gyarados. Now, Gyarados already has pretty monstrous attack. But I think one big issue for Gyarados here is the fact that he doesn't get access to Earthquake in Gen 1. Although, to be fair, Body Slam and Hyper Beam are still more than capable of destroying everything. And I'll just give you a spoiler and say Dragonite with a Dragon Dance at 80 speed is already enough to outspeed Alakazam. So Gyarados can outspeed a Dragon Dance Dragonite, so that's kind of funny. You can use Surf if you want to use a different special move, like one that's more accurate. You also have things like Blizzard and Thunderbolt for coverage. I'll be honest, I don't really know where Gyarados would be in terms of like the usage. I have my reasons for why I think the other two would be better. And I guess I'll start by saying that while I don't think it's super relevant in terms of Dragon Dance, I think that 4 times electric weakness and with Jolteon and Zapdos around could be a bit of a problem. Although not being scared of Rhydon because of water coverage is definitely really good. You have a pretty high attack, but here's the main reason why I don't think Gyarados will be used that much. And that's solely because I think the other two Dragon Dance users are better at, like, the 2 different things that Gyarados is good for. So Gyarados has a ground immunity and has high attack, but so does Dragonite with higher attack and the exact same special. And you do have water moves and ways to hit Rhydon super effectively. While Lapras can also have that while also being tankier and easier to switch in. Speaking of Lapras, Lapras is definitely the one I think would be the second best, and just a very dangerous threat. Let's keep in mind that if you look at its stats, its attack isn't actually that much lower than its special. You got 95 to 85. So yeah, with just one Dragon Dance, you're definitely hitting harder with physical moves, not counting for stab. And, well, it's unfortunate that with only one Dragon Dance, you're not faster than Starmie. You are faster than Tauros, at least. Being faster than Tauros, as a Lapras? If you're Tauros, that's terrifying. Because here's the thing with Lapras, it's not even more so just the actual attack. Just being faster while you're a tank is in of itself a huge deal. So just being able to outspeed a lot of things and hit with Blizzard, that's terrifying. But now you have Body Slam and Hyper Beam for Starmies and Chanseys. That's insane. And you have really good HP. Great HP, actually. So Lapras here, like, it's probably the only one out of all the Pokemon here that realistically could go for 2 Dragon Dances. I'm not going to say that it's always optimal, but if you take out a Lapras late game and start going for Dragon Dance, it is going to tear a lot of things up. In fact, there's a very good chance that Lapras is actually the best Dragon Dance user. The only reason why I'm going to argue that Dragonite is better will be for 2 reasons. One, it's not changing too much from its regular Gen 1 game plan, and by doing this, it makes it, just more consistent with what Dragonite wants to do. And the other reason, and the main reason why I'm putting above Lapras, is the fact that with one Dragon Dance, it is just outspeeding both Alakazam and Starmie, which I think is a much bigger deal, especially since things like, Starmie can have Thunderbolt, and while Lapras can have Thunderbolt too, still, I don't know, it can get in the way. But that's just my opinion. You let me know what you think is the best Dragon Dance user in the comments. And last, and most certainly not least, is Dragonite here. Oh, Dragonite. You are just an absolute monster. And while technically this doesn't really solve your problem of not being able to hit Gengar, at the same time you're faster than Gengar now. Or I guess you technically already were with agility. But still, wrapping and switching into a Psychic type, that's pretty easy to do. So, what do we have with Dragonite here? Along with the fact that you don't need agility to outspeed everything, now that you're getting more attack, it's not a lot, but it does mean that Wrap ever so slightly has more consistent damage ranges, and Hyper Beam kills just a little bit quicker. And trust me, Dragonite with even just 1 attack boost is terrifying with Hyper Beam. You will see in the replay short enough, but something like Snorlax, oh my gosh, it does not want to tank a Hyper Beam. And you even have Blizzard if you just want coverage against, Rhydon. And technically something you can use to fight against Gengar. It's still possible that Lapras can be better. But here's the main question I want to ask. Obviously Charizard I don't think would be enough in OU. But I do think Charizard getting Dragon Dance would change underuse drastically to the point where I don't think not an underuse. And I cannot talk. I know. I'm sorry. I think just as a whole, Dragon Dance it power creeps all these Pokemon in their respective tiers. So Lapras was just a lot back in the underuse. I'm not even sure that's going to last, but with Dragon Dance, definitely not. And if I had to guess, I would say that underuse can't handle Dragon Dance either. Keep in mind that with Gyarados here, one Dragon Dance already outspeeds Alakazam. So, like, Kadabra, no. Dugtrio, you can set up on that easily. So, like, Gyarados is definitely getting banned. And it might stay in OU, but it's hard to tell. Dragonite. Okay, so Dragonite's a weird case, because they already banned a Agilirap in underused. So, in underused, I would say this would be the same thing. So Dragonite actually wouldn't change that much. But I do question if it would be annoying enough to where it gets banned in overuse as well. If it gets banned in overuse, then definitely Dragonite just stays in underused Mon. And then Lapras can just be the best Dragon Dance user. And to be honest, I guess Gyarados might stay in OU, but I still don't know. One thing I do feel pretty confident on is Dragon Dance Charizard being able to stay in underuse, not so much never use. But those are just my predictions. I'm not too versed in the lower tiers. I would like to hear your comments on if you think how much Dragon Dance would change everything. And now we have just a dumb little replay. It's just one because I just had all the Dragon Dance users. Definitely did not play optimally. This is more so just to see like how these go with damage ranges and speed. So there's one Dragon Dance. As you can see, you're faster than Alakazam. So that's already a pretty big deal. And then on top of that, like, that might not look like a lot to you, but seeing a Rap do like a little more than 10% is terrifying. But not as terrifying as just doing half of Snorlax's HP. Like, yeah, Dragonite is a monster. And I have no doubt in my mind that both Lapras and Dragonite would just 100% be in OU. Because, like, this gives them a great win con and just makes them kind of terrifying. And there is just, you know, one Body Slam doing, like, a fourth to Tauros and a, like, almost a third to Starmie. And, like, again, like, here you're seeing just how tanky Lapras is. Like, honestly, yeah, like, it's not the most unreasonable thing in the world for it to just go for 2 Dragon Dances. Granted, got a little bit unlucky there, but still. There's Charizard, which is now faster. It do a lot of damage. Although, another reason why I just don't feel confident with Charizard making it into OU. Like, I'll show you in a little bit when, like, we have the Netherworld Charizard versus Chansey, but even with Dragon Dance, I don't know, I just feel like Charizard's damage ranges really just aren't there. And I just don't feel confident enough with the coverage like I would with other Mons, but there's Hyper Beam doing, you know, like, basically 70% to Starmie. That's terrifying. And we'll look at it that way, maybe it would stay in OU. But yeah, it's like, I'll pause this here for a bit, because I already had a damage calc, because I was curious. With one attack, Hyper Beam's doing, like, half, and Earthquake isn't even doing half. So, like, that's kind of pathetic, don't you think? And, like, obviously, like, this is a case where I would probably put my money on Chansey winning, because I just don't think Charizard will be able to do much of the time. Obviously, switching to Sam is a throw. I'm 100% faster, but yeah, like, Charizard can try his best, and I'm sure some people would use him. At the very least, he's much more usable now than he used to be. But the others are just way better. It's not even funny. The only exception is Onix. What do you think? Do you think Dragon Dance would make all these Pokemon OU viable? That doesn't necessarily mean, like, they're in the OU tier. But at the very least, do you think they'd be on the viability rankings? Let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to tell me where you think they would place in their original tiers. Or if you think they'd be banned. Or if you think the meta can adapt to it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.